everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. So, some time ago, we covered some of the PR mistakes and drama surrounding the It Ends With Us movie premiere and the drama between co-stars and producers Justin Baldoni, who is also the director, and Blake Lively. They both acted in the movie, both produced, Justin directed, and Blake kind of started overstepping her boundaries and taking more control over the movie than an actor and producer would ever normally. If you missed that video, that sort of recapped some of those dramas and the PR crisis that Blake Lively landed herself in. It can be found here, linked at the top of the screen. I'll link the playlist at the end of today's video, and I will link it in the description box if you're curious. There's also a lot of great summaries on YouTube. If you just type in Baldoni versus Lively, you'll get a lot of good information there. Or even in the regular news, there's a lot of news articles about this because it's getting crazy. So we have to update about it because both the Lively and Baldoni camps have filed lawsuits. So there are countersuits and lawsuits going off right now, including one against the New York Times for basically defamation. But what has emerged recently tells a very compelling story that's actually in favor of Justin. Now, here's kind of the loose, zoomed out big picture summary. The It Ends With Us premiere press stuff was really weird, and people were picking up on problems between Baldoni and Lively. And about the same time, there was a big stir from YouTube because a journalist had published video footage of an interview she conducted with Blake Lively where Blake was rude as all get out. So then it had a domino effect, and YouTube and other socials were flooded with examples of Blake Lively being straight up rude. Now, as we discussed in that previous video, a lot of the times it came across like Blake was trying sarcasm, really dry, sarcastic humor that was just kind of came off as rude and mean girly when she did it. And we discussed how Ryan Reynolds has that same sort of constantly sarcastic vibe that people receive well, and people like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's sarcastic Twitter wars of years past, but that it wasn't coming across the same when Blake did it. And sometimes Blake was going beyond sarcastic humor and jokes, and it wasn't self-deprecating, it was just mean stuff, including that interview. So again, like I said, go click the links if you want to watch some of that for yourself. But at that point, people were very much on Justin's side. Like, yeah, why is Blake being super rude? And there were rumors of Blake being really controlling and kind of interfering with the director process, which is overstepping a boundary and not the norm, not the done thing. Then Blake Lively filed this lawsuit against Justin, claiming that he had done some harassing and some inappropriate stuff on the set of this movie, and that he had really crossed boundaries during the making of this movie, painting herself as a victim. There was a big New York Times story about it, I believe, and that led Justin to file a lawsuit against the New York Times for publishing a one-sided, biased story that was full of falsehoods that defamed him. And he filed a countersuit against Blake, providing evidence that would suggest a whole different side of the story. So we already know that Blake has been experiencing a lot of bad press due to her overly sarcastic, sometimes rude demeanor during interviews, wherein she has been seen as an incredibly unkind, sort of mean girl. With this case, after she came out and accused Justin of all kinds of things, being inappropriate on set, retaliating, and launching a smear campaign, essentially she was blaming him for the interview clips coming up on YouTube and other socials, and that whole domino effect of examples of Blake being not nice. She was blaming Justin for all of that. But Baldoni and his lawyer have come out and said, literally no, that is not what's happening at all, and we have receipts. They have said they'd be willing, even happy, to release all communication, texts and emails and video footage from set that essentially absolve Justin. And this caught my eye because anytime a lawyer or a party in a lawsuit or a party in an argument is willing to just lay out on the table everything, just be like, look, why don't you decide for yourself? Here is everything that has been said and done and discussed. Absolutely everything that's happened. Why don't you take a look and tell me whose side you're on or who's right or wrong in this situation? Anytime somebody does that, it's almost always that they are actually telling the truth and correct. If they say that there is a plethora of evidence that would make clear what really happened, and they are willing to share it to the public, to the courts, what have you, to the extent that they're happy to just reveal everything, all their evidence, they are as confident as you can possibly be. Now, this can, in some very small percentage of cases, just be a tactic, like a bluff, but not very often. Because if you're saying this, and it is a bluff, if you're saying, yeah, let's put out all the evidence, but you're bluffing, the other party can be like, yeah, let's go ahead and put out all the evidence, and then you would get caught out. So rarely does anybody say anything like this, or publish all their evidence, or say that they're willing to furnish it all if they are bluffing. That's very, very rare and very stupid. And Justin has smart people on his team, so I do not believe it is a bluff at all. So when a party is eager to divulge evidence, they're usually in the right. They know and are confident that the evidence absolves them. It shows obvious innocence, or it shows clear evidence that they are the victims in the situation. We haven't seen Blake Lively's team reciprocate that energy at all. They haven't been saying that they have receipts too or anything like that. Instead, they've just added more complaints. Justin also released video footage from filming during one of the moments where Blake had accused him of wrongdoing. And that does indeed show a very different story to what Blake said. And in my opinion, does show innocence on Justin's part. Moreover, or more importantly, it shows that Blake has manipulated the truth in her accusations, which goes beyond the court case and into Justin's public image being damaged by Blake's mischaracterizations of what actually happened. Perhaps even more important, this reeks of Amber Heard-like vibes fully, which is sad. Most people really liked Blake Lively up until this point. So here's what happened. A scene in the movie which was scripted to show Blake and Justin's characters dancing on a date night with no lines. They were supposed to be falling in love or in love in this scene, and so of course they're acting as such, but they're chatting because this scene didn't have lines. It was just going to have music going over the top and kind of like, you know, one of those slow zoom out, like, yeah, they're falling in love right now, and we aren't privy to the conversation they're having. We're just witnessing their body language demonstrate their affections for each other. So it was just to capture the visuals of this slow dance date night moment. But as actors, they're standing there slow dancing, close together, you know, looking into each other's eyes, chatting a little bit as they do so. Blake's accusation of this moment is that Justin was not in character during this moment. He was not acting at this moment, and he ran his lips over her neck, she says, and said, "It smells so good," which was not in the script. But upon watching this video evidence, you can see that is not exactly what happened. They were chatting back and forth completely normally. I will try to plug the clip here, but it might get copyrighted, so I might just have to summarize here. But they're both chatting back and forth and seem very comfortable. He says that she and Ryan are a super cute couple. She makes a joke about Justin Baldoni's nose. He does sort of look like he kisses her neck at one point, which would make sense in character to do during this scene. And then he says something about his beard perhaps being scratchy, and she laughs. And then he says she does smell good. And then she says it's just the body makeup. Now, at this point, she does not look uncomfortable, and this is not how she claimed it happened. She claimed essentially unprompted, he starts smooching on her neck and is like, "It smells super good," in a creepy, weird way. But that is not what this is. You know, if you're acting and whatnot, this would be a natural thing to do because that's a normal thing that would happen in a scene like this in real life. Realistic, normal. And she carried on normally in this moment. She didn't act like that was anything weird. She didn't seem uncomfortable with him saying that the body makeup smells good. He didn't argue it and be like, "No, I think it's you." Like, it wasn't weird like that. So this shows her to have fudged the truth in her complaint, which is serious. And here's the same problem that we've seen with other people like Amber Heard and also Meghan Markle. If you're accusing someone, especially publicly, specifically publicly, of any sort of ist or DV type subject matter harassment of any kind, you must be extraordinarily careful and have evidence. Because if not, if you try to pull an Amber Heard or a Meghan on Oprah, then you have zero evidence to back up your claims and you have exaggerated them even the tiniest little bit. You lose all credibility. And there's an abundance of evidence on top of it in all these situations. Markle, Heard, Lively, apparently. There is an abundance of evidence that actually demonstrates the opposite may be true, that support whoever you're accusing and show no wrongdoing or a lack of potential wrongdoing. And then on top of it, you don't have any proof to back it up, then not only will you lose out, but you can be held liable for defamation and loss of professional opportunities due to reputation damage. It's very serious, and it's very disappointing when people do this because it undermines the accusations and the seriousness of the situation. And furthermore, any little tiny exaggeration has a domino effect that absolutely everything else that you say is up for question. Who knows what else you lied about or exaggerated? It's a really, really serious mistake to make, especially in these sorts of public-facing moments. And that's exactly what happened with Harry and Meghan. They made those lies, and now nobody believes anything else that they say. And we have consistently seen that anytime they do say something, 99% of the time, there is some sort of lie, exaggeration, mischaracterization, a fudging of the facts somewhere within everything they do and say. So a strong pattern emerges. Best to not put yourself in that scrutiny in the first place and not lie. I mean, obviously, good people shouldn't be lying or mischaracterization or exaggerating things in the first place. But if and when they do, then they are forever labeled as someone who cannot be fully trusted. Their word is not to be fully trusted. From that moment forward. Same thing happened with Amber Heard, and here we are seeing it begin with Blake Lively. Now, this one scene and these handful of interactions that we've seen thus far, it would be far too early to say categorically that Blake is completely lying and going full Markle Heard. It would be irresponsible to say that. This scene may have been slightly mischaracterized by Blake or slightly exaggerated, and no others may be, or some of her other accusations may still be true. But it is very serious and very problematic that this alone has proven to be fudged, changed, lied about. That's not how it happened, how she said, and therefore she is no longer reliable. What they should do is settle. But at this point, Justin's probably so furious and concerned for his reputation that settling doesn't sound very appealing to him at this point. But what do you think about all of this? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I'll see you next time. Bye.